All right. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the country. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. My name is Michael Quain. I'm the lead trainer here at McCormick, so I do a lot of these kind of things, and I manage a small team of trainers that I have now. So if you haven't heard from McCormick in a while, if you haven't been to any events, we have grown into where we actually need a small team of trainers. So that is great for us. If you've been around a while, that's news. So what we're doing today is we're going to be talking about everything that's new since the release of 16. So this is all a post 16 world for us. And there are some pretty exciting things. So we want to make sure everybody has a chance to see them and learn about them a little bit and see how you could use them. So what you're seeing right now on my screen is the job screen. Now I'm going to log out in a second so we can start and take a look at everything that happens that's different now right from login. Before I do that, I want to get out a little logistics for the class or for the seminar rather. Um, if you got any questions, go ahead and type them in. I'll be able to get to them at the end, but you might want to wait a little bit till I get into it a little bit to start asking questions because some of your questions in the beginning might be answered somewhere in the middle. So, well, I'll talk for probably 35, 40 minutes. Then we got a special guest who's going to share some news with us about the products and the company in general. And then we'll start doing the questions. And if we don't get to your question here in our hour, then I will have a record of those and I'll be able to answer them independently offline. So don't be shy about asking questions. And please understand, if I don't get to it during the session, I will get to you, I promise. So after all of that further ado, let's jump in. Now, there's a very important reason why I'm not going to start here, because this isn't the start of the new stuff for 16. And beyond 16. What I'm going to show you right when we log in is something that is actually 16.3, which is being released as we speak. So this might be the first time you see it. And when I log out, this is where the fun starts. I log back in. The first thing I'm going to see is a landing page. This is one of the most exciting changes I have seen in McCormick in a long, long time. So I'm sure there's lots of oohs and ahs going on right now. I know there was when I saw it. So while you're oohing and ahhing, let me show you what we've got here. First of all, we've got the ability to put your company name and your company logo up here in the top. This is totally customizable. I'll show you at the end here what the settings looks like. But you can put your company name here, you can put your logo here, and if anybody knows me, you know what this is a picture of. It is a monkey dressed like a cowboy riding a chicken. That's my standard picture. So completely customizable to make it your own company's logo and name. Right here on the top left of this other section down in the bottom is my recent jobs. And this is user specific. So if you have multiple users, it will show you the jobs that you yourself have been in recently. The most recent job that I've been in will be at the top. So I can open these jobs from here too. If I click on one and open it, the next time I go back to this screen, it will be on top. This is showing me the most recent jobs I have opened and actually been in. I could show up to 25 here. And I can actually create a new job right from here. So if I click this button right now, it is going to create a job for me in the Active Jobs tab. So this is right now, huge functionality just in the top part of this, and that's only part of this screen. So up to 25 recent jobs, it's user specific, and I can actually make a new job right from here. Over here on the left, sorry, the other left, we've got all the bids coming due. Now this date that it's using is pulling from the bid date in job details, which fortunately is a field that cannot be edited, so you can't make a mistake and delete it or alter it. That's where this date is coming from. You can choose up to a 365-day range. So here you see I've got a bid coming in a couple of months. I've got one coming at the end of this month. So I think what I've chosen is a 6-week period or a 7-week period here to show the jobs, but this is going to show you everything that's coming due based on that date in the job details. Down here in the lower left, we've got the ability to add messages. You can add custom messages here, up to 25. If you go past what the window can physically show you, you'll get a scroll bar. The most recent one always goes to the top. So This is another way you can communicate with your staff quickly and easily. These three things right here, very, very functional. We've been hoping to get them for a while. Now we got them. Now this area here, change order alert date, if you're using the change order module, the one that you get to by going up here to the top tab, change order, if you're using that, this information comes from that alert that you can set. So you see the name of the change order and the job number. So this is feeding from that change order module. And then if you're a multi-user company, you can see who's logged in. Right now, I'm the only one logged into my account. And you can actually choose whether or not you even want this information at the beginning. Let's say I do turn it off, but then I want it again. Let's close it real quick and see, well, how do I get it back now that I want it back? You got to come up here to the Jobs tab, and then there's a little landing icon right here. It takes you back to the landing page. So if you have somehow inadvertently turned this off to show when you log in, you can still get to it right here. I'll show you the settings real quick. This is where you can import the graphic for your logo. You can change the company name just by typing it. Do you want the logo on the left or the right of the name? And then the range for the different things down here. Recent jobs, max 25, bid due range, max 365-day range. Same for change orders. And then I can show up to 25 different company messages. So this right here, one of the newest, most exciting things we've done in a while. Now let's close this and move on to something else. What I'm going to do is just go through the system step by step and show everything that is new. All right, labels. There's nothing really functionally different about labels, but it does look different. And there is one thing that you should probably be aware of and start thinking about. So this just looks different, but the thing you should start thinking about is naming the columns. For 40 years, we would have told you that you're only going to see them here, so it's not as important as some of these other things, but these column names now appear, and a couple of other places are going to be pretty useful. So I would get in the habit of naming them. If you don't get in that habit, you will lose some functionality towards the end, or it'll just make it a little bit harder to organize and relate to. But I would definitely get in the habit of naming these. There will be another place in the system that is very useful that you will see these. So you can see that I've done something very simple here. My base bid here is bid package, floors and levels here, systems here, and I've got a couple of sheets. Now, granted, it's just a pretend job, but this way of organizing things is going to work for anyone. So that's the only thing new about labels, really. It's just visually different. Everything else is the same, except you might want to start naming these columns. Now, if anybody knows me, you're probably very surprised that I only spent that much time talking about labels, because it is one of the most important things in the system. Now, takeoff. There's not really a lot changed here, but the thing that did change is really, really cool. You should recognize this. This is the temporary job database. What I can do differently now is these are all the lighting fixtures I have to rename. And you can see this little Excel spreadsheet here. So I'm just going to go over here and copy them, and I'm going to use my Control-C keyboard shortcut. Anything that you want to use to copy, it's going to be the same functionality. But once I've copied them, now I'm going to come over here to my temporary database and right-click and then choose Paste Name. Now, normally I would say this is a stop and think about it box, but it's already done everything for you. It wants to rename the matching byproducts. It already did the math and counted the number of rows. You don't have to do anything other than click OK and then watch what happens. I just copied everything from here into here, and I renamed the byproduct. You can see that those are all, I did that in one function, one click, basically. So again, if you've got a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet that has a list of temporary parts that you need to import those names, you can copy and paste them now rather than sitting here and doing them one at a time. All you got to do is highlight them, copy them. They have to be copied to your clipboard in order for McCormick to accept it, but it's already going to do all of the math for you. You don't have to think about where do I end? Oh, I've got 23, so I need to end here. No, the system's going to do that thinking for you. This is huge. All right, I got a little bit of takeoff in here, so now the next step would be to go to extension. Okay, there's a lot going on extension now. And first of all, I want to talk about the different look that you see here. This is a different look from before 16. First of all, you don't have green and red triangles anymore to indicate multiple instances. What you've got are these little plus signs. When you drop it down, you could expand it and you could see the different instances. This particular piece right here was taken off in these three labels. So that replaces the red and green triangles over here. If you've used the system that long ago, we can still see all of these different instances. In fact, if we want to do them all, expand parts, we'll take everything, expand it out. Now I can quickly and easily see how many pieces do I have in which labels. So this whole job has 37.6 of these, and here's how it's broken down for the different labels. So that is one thing that is visually different. Another thing that is different, this view tab up at the top. These 5 tabs up at the top are kind of important for different basic functionality. Up here at the top, when I click on view, these 3 checkboxes are now going to be important to me. This checkbox right here puts totals at the bottom, but it doesn't always total the columns that you're using. So what I usually do is turn it off so there's no numbers down here, and I just look up here. So that's what this is doing. If you get numbers down here that are different from these up on the top right, you might as well just turn this off, because these are the numbers that really are being used when they get sent over. These numbers are totaling up different columns, not necessarily the total. Also, show zero quantity. Now, before 16, if I decided I'm not going to use any of this at all and I zero it out, it's going to disappear. With this box checked, when I zero it out, it will stay in my extension report and will have a part name and it will have a zero quantity to show me that it was there and now it's gone. To me, that's huge. If you've been through any of my training before, you know I'm big on standardization and historical data and understanding the full story of what happened on my bid. This is a big step in that direction. If I remove something here in extension, I will have a record of it. Now, I'm not going to do it here and show you because it's going to mess with the extension and the bid summary that I've already linked together. But if I did zero it out with this box checked, it's going to stay here and it's going to show me a zero quantity. All right. Now, there's something about extension that works a little bit differently than we're used to. And it's going to happen here on this labels tab. First of all, this looks different. And if I unselect them all, I have a moment to breathe and make my decision before a little window pops up and says, hey, you need to select one. So if you've been around for a while, that little window is gone. So now I can still make the same decisions I was making before. But the way extension is kind of designed now, it behaves in 2 different ways, depending on whether these are combined or separate. So right now, I've got them combined, which means when I look at my material list, everything is combined. I have one list for the whole job. You see up here, it says combined, 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 combined. That means everything in my job is now in this list, regardless of where it was in my labels. So that's what combined is doing. It's putting everything together. With combined, I can expand the parts and see which one is in different labels from looking at it in this way. Now, this is an example of a report that has been separated. And by separated, I mean here on the labels tab, it says separate now. So anything with multiple labels in it is now separate, which means when I come back to material, I can see this is floor 1 power E1, and all of this stuff is from that label. Then I get to the second label in this list, and now all of this stuff is for that label. And if I go up to collapse the labels, I've got a really cool way to see this at the extension level, everything in its raw form and its percentage to the whole. So this is a great way to spot check things. If I've just built 3 identical floors, but I see a variance over here, it indicates I might have a problem I need to go and address. So on some jobs, you could actually use this as a spot check and just look at it and say, that looks right, or something looks really, really wrong right there. But keep in mind, this is extension. So your quoted items aren't in there. You don't have any tax or markup in here yet. So whatever this is, it's just going to be the cold, hard data from extension. But it's still a good way to look at things. And it's also not a bad way to make sure that you've got something in every label that you expect it in. I know I only have 3 for each floor, and here are all 3. I can see that all 3 of them are done in each floor. So that was expand and collapse labels is what that's doing for you. So there are 2 really big, distinctly different ways to handle this extension. And since extension has historically been the place where you make different breakouts for the different floors, it's probably not a bad idea to point out that this extension wants you to do something a little bit differently. This extension is set up to make it actually different reports. So over here, instead of having all your different floors and power and everything over here like in the old days, you're probably pretty much just going to have this area here with the different reports be a mirror of the first column. You'll have a base bid, you'll have change orders, you'll have alternates, you'll have addendums, but every other bit of breakout can now be done in bid summary, actually easier and quicker than you could do it here. So I'm going to assume that I need to break out some of these things for different reports later, but I don't need to do it now. I can do it when I get to bid summary. In fact, it's going to be quicker and easier to do it in bid summary. And if I send this one report over as a separate report to bid summary, and then break it out into all of its different breakouts when I get there, that means I only had to get this report right one time. I could send one report over and make 10 breakouts in bid summary instead of making 10 breakouts here. Because if I do that, I need to get 10 breakouts right. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather have to get one thing right than 10. Now let's look at something else that we can do here. It is a pretty big function, single item edit only. And it has to do with the different instances of takeoff. You see how I've got this connector right here exists in 3 different labels. So it's got floor 1, floor 2, and floor 2 right here. What if it was a different price? Or what if it was different different labor? If it was a different labor value or is a different price just because it was on the second floor, if I go in here and I try to change that now, it's going to change them all because they're all still basically connected. They're all still behaving the same. But let's look at what happens. I'm going to revert that back. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to turn on single item edit only. Single item edit only right here at the top, right next to the drop down for the reports. It's going to allow me to edit one specific instance of this takeoff without altering the rest. For example, floor 2 needs to be 77. Okay, I can now make floor 2 77 without touching floor 1. And then I'm going to get a composite average up here. That's what the little dog ear is. The little green highlight up in the corner indicates that something has been changed, but not for every instance. You can also do it with labor. Now, maybe the first floor is going to be a lot quicker for some reason, so I can do that and then get a composite average again. So single item edit only, when it's turned on, allows you to change one of these individual instances without altering the rest, which is sort of a way that you can make another breakout, because if all you're doing is changing the price on one of the floors, this is much quicker, more efficient, and more concise than doing it with different reports. So single item edit only is going to allow me to do that. I'll show you again just on labor, right down here for this connector. Here on the roof, it's going to be really hard. So I'll change that to 8. The other one stayed the same. The basement and the floor 2 are going to be the same. So now if I collapse those parts back up, should be pretty quick and easy to see where I have changed anything independently of the rest, because I can see those little dog ears, and it's going to be bolded. All right, now let's get to some fun. I'm going to send over this report. I'm going to send it over as separate. I have to send it over as separate if I want to use all of the really cool, exciting things in bid summary. And I wouldn't describe them as cool and exciting if I didn't really think they were, and they really are. So let's take a look at what that looks like now. I've already sent them over in anticipation of this event, so I'm not going to do that again here. I'm just going to close this, and we're going to go to bid summary. Now, the most important thing about bid summary is the different appearance and what the different things are going to be doing now. Now, if you look right here, these are my reports that I built in extension. If I built it, they will show here. If I sent it over, they will show with information. So this, if you've used the system pre-16, this area up here now replaces this lower left-hand corner of the bid summary screen. And I can choose between the different reports right here. So right now I'm looking at the combined example. If I want to look at the other example, I can just flip it. That happens sometimes. Now, what's the difference between combined and separate? Well, first of all, separate gives you the ability to now look at things differently here. This is just for looking. If somebody says, hey, let's talk about floor 1, I can come up here and say, okay, let's talk about floor 1. You see how it changed? And they say, well, let's talk about floor 1 lights specifically. Okay, let's talk. That's what these are for. But I won't get this unless I have separated it. If I sent everything over combined, these will be grayed out, and I won't be able to actually move around and alter the view of my report. So this is how I'm going to do all of my breakouts now. And this is just pulling different pieces of information. I don't have to enter anything else. This is only using the extension I sent over. So all of my work is done. Somebody says, hey, let's talk about sheet E1. Okay, let's talk about sheet E1 because it's right here in front of me. Now, if that's not exciting enough, there's another way that I can handle things here. Now, once it's separated, I come over here. And this is why I want to label my columns. Floors, levels, systems, and sheets. Now it's going to be relatable. I can relate to those descriptions. If it just says column 1, column 2, column 3, I probably can't relate to it as well as I can if I have taken the time to rename the columns. So let's look at what this can do. First, I'll choose floors and levels. What that means is I'm going to be able to separate everything based on what's in this column. That's what this is. Now, I got my labor here. Somebody says, hey, great, that's going to take $28,312.86 to do this job. But how much of that labor is from the roof? Right here. Now, that wasn't as easy an answer to get to before 16. So that's one of the things that's really exciting about this. I can talk about everything separately now. You want to do the same thing with materials? Now I can split out the materials. So I've got a lot of options here. What if I didn't care about the floors as much as I did the systems? Somebody says, okay, well, let's talk about the lights. How much of your labor is in the lights? Well, it's right here. Whatever I've got that I want to take apart and look at, I now have the ability over here. These are just giving me the ability to break things out based on what's this in this column. If I did it with sheets, somebody says, hey, what's the total labor for sheet E2? Well, now that's a really super easy answer to get to. And remember, I only had to do one extension report. Everything is coming from one report. I will say that every opportunity I get. It is better, faster, and easier to get one thing right than it is to get 100. And after I've sent over one correct separated report, I can tear it apart any way I want to here in bid summary to get the numbers that somebody wants me to give them. And if I really, really wanted to, I can even do this. I go, okay, well, here's floor 1 power. There's floor 1 power E1 right there. And there's floor 1 lights right there. So I can get really, really granular if I wanted to by selecting all of these. But that's not all. There's something else I can do here. Let's say I've got a miscellaneous charge. It's going to cost me $3,860 as a miscellaneous charge, but I want to see how that charge is going to be spread out among my different floors. By selecting floors up here in the groupings, now I can see that that miscellaneous charge actually spreads out like this based on the total for this job. And it's going to be weighted by the total dollar amount in here. So you can see that for something, whatever's going on the roof is way more expensive than the rest because it's got a larger share of this miscellaneous thing. So I can spread a cost out, and now it will quickly and easily spread out over all of my labels. So I want to spread it out over sheets. Okay, well, somebody wants to be specific about lights. Okay, well, out of this 3860, the lights have 909 cents worth of that in there. So I can spread costs out now and see what they're going to be when I actually spread them out to different labels. Now there's something else I can do here too. Let's go over to quotes real quick. I want to separate this by system because I want to put the fixture quote in the lighting. So if I have a $6,000 lighting quote, and I can shrink this back up, now I've got $6,000 down here. $6,000. Let's go back to no separation. If I go back to my top sheet, there's $6,000 for that quote, right? But where did I put it? I put it in lighting. So if I'm just looking at power now, the $6,000 quote for lighting is gone because up here I've chosen to see the power breakout. And I can choose to see data, and you know what? That $6,000 isn't there. But when I choose lighting, it is there. So between this column here and these 3 columns here, or 4 or 5, or however big the job is, you've got the flexibility to do an infinite number of breakouts or infinite number of separations with only the one report. So there's a lot of functionality and a lot of excitement here about that ability to separate things. But that's still not all. If you're thinking, boy, that's enough. If this seminar stops right now, I'd be happy. There's still more. One of the coolest things that I've seen, well, it's tied with the landing page, but let's say I'm curious about floors. Floors is the biggest, most important breakout for my job. There's a new button up here. It says Recap Report. When I click it, all of my dreams come true. This was not possible before. I have some control over it. When I go to settings, I can choose which one of these things I actually want to put over there. And if you look at what these choices are, it's mostly pieces of information out of the bid summary. So how do you want to break this out? Which piece of this information is really, really important to you? Maybe labor is. Okay, I can add labor now. I've got everything broken down. I can see there's floor 1, just boom, sell price and how much labor it is. I can put in materials so I can see the difference. I'll take out the total return. So I've got a little bit of flexibility here on what shows, and if I want to print it, it's going to print and look just like you would want it to. It's going to look like that, which is something that we really couldn't do very quickly and easily before. Now, this is showing floors because I have chose floors over here. I can choose systems if I want to, and if I go back to recap, it'll show the systems. We'll see what it'll do if I chose 2 of them, floors and systems. Just like I thought. It's got all the floors, all the systems. This is all of my labels built out for me. And if I do the last one as well, So I've got a lot of different ways that I can break things out here, and I have control over it. Now, I'm not sure how many columns you can have here, but the bigger it's going to get, the more awkward it's going to be when it prints, but that'll just be some trial and error. All right, I've got some questions coming in, and I talked faster than I thought I was going to. There's really not a ton of differences. It's the level of effort that you can take out of your job by using these new features. So just to go back over something from extension, which is probably one of the more important things, I want to emphasize the difference between separate and combined. Sending over a report as separate here in your labels, separate, these columns, choose separate for anything that has multiple labels in it. That is what's giving you this ability to change everything and manipulate it and tell it what you want to break it down and how you want to break it down. So sending over a separated extension is probably the most important thing. Also remember, when it comes to extension, you don't need to make one for all these different breakouts. You can do that when you get to bid summary. Just make the big ones here. Make a base bid, make a change order, make the alternates. This is much more functional now if you treat the different reports as actually pieces of this first column. So if this report section mirrors your first column, then you're on track. If you start to have other things popping up over here, other different reports, you could probably save some time and pick up a little bit of efficiency and accuracy points by doing that part of it in bid summary. So I'm coming up on the end here. I've got a few questions in there, so unless they start to fill up exponentially, I could probably get to these online here. If you have any needs or questions after this seminar, just call the main number and we'll get you to the right person. Some of you might have some upcoming training, either in person or online. That would be a great place to make sure that this stuff is solid for you. So, you know, you could always save questions for your trainer when the time comes. But I believe I am done with the talking part. So I understand that I'm going to have a special guest come on, and hopefully he's here. He's a little 5 minutes before I expected him, but if he's here, great. Welcome. And no matter what else happens, keep asking those questions. And over to you, Eric.
Yeah, hey guys, my name's Eric. I am with Safety HQ. Just as an option while we're kind of waiting for some questions to kind of come in here as we go, wanted to take this time. A lot of feedback that we've gotten from a lot of our customer base is, hey, I'm not on this email or not on this email. I'm surprised that this offering it does or doesn't exist, what have you. So we want to take this opportunity to just make you guys aware of something, for 2-3 minutes while those questions are piling in. So keep those coming as you guys go. But one of the big offerings that we have out there for you guys is Safety HQ. For those of you guys that are unaware, Safety HQ is part of the same family of companies. It's a great place to schedule and manage toolbox talks for your team. If you want to go ahead and schedule those out, collect signatures, track and manage who's completed those, things along those lines. We're able to do customized forms in here. So if you did want to do any JHA site inspections, equipment inspections, things along those lines, those can all be fully customized. Those include logic. You can take photos, mark those types of things up as well too. We have a full SDS library, almost 4 million records that your team can access from their phone or tablet, wherever they might be on the job site. This is also a good place to track and manage trainings and lessons for your teams as well too. So if you did want to share particular trainings, keep your team up to date on, ongoing and updating safety policies and procedures, you can assign those out, require them to take quizzes, things along those lines as well too. We can also track and manage when your employees are going to expire on things like certifications, see who has what trainings before you start a job site. This is also a good opportunity to track and manage things like incidents. This will come all the way through and actually complete your OSHA 300 for you as well too. So pretty flexible option here. Let me get some actual dates, give you some data to look at here as we go. But a really good opportunity to kind of get your safety under control. It's a really good way to be on top of leading indicators, trends, analysis, things along those lines. This will actually even complete your OSHA 300 for you, all the way down to letting you know if your equipment is going to, be overdue on inspection cycles, see the history of those pieces of equipment, maintenance requests, things like that too. So there's a lot that we can do in here. This is just a 30-second overview, guys, just so we can give our team a little bit of a break to collect some questions and go from there too. But if you are interested in some more information, either put that in the questions or comments here as we go. Feel free to reach out to McCormick Foundation, Safety HQ directly. We're happy to help with any of those items that you can. So if Safety HQ is something that you would like a little bit more interest in, or you have a little bit more interest in and you want a full demo, I'd be happy to do so with you. We're happy to help at any time too. So with that being said, I will kick it back over as some of these questions have come in. But let me kill this. Thank you guys for the time there, and keep those questions coming so we can kind of get you guys what you need. And Michael, with that, I've kicked it back over to you. We should have your screen, and the floor is back to yours. Hopefully you had enough time to get a drink or collect up on some of those questions. So thanks, Michael. I appreciate it, and I'll let you guys continue.
No, thank you. I appreciate your taking the time to share that information with us.
Absolutely.
All right. I was hoping for hundreds of questions, so hopefully they'll come in. First of all, will this feature be available on the Windows 1000? And that was back at the landing page. And yes, the landing page is going to be available on both versions. Next couple of questions here about copying from other places other than Excel. Honestly, I don't know. This is new. I mean, it's being released this week, so honestly, I haven't had enough time to play with it and find that out. But we'll probably all learn together. Now, I think I have access to your email, so when I find that answer, there's two of you that asked that question. I will let you know as soon as I find out, because if anybody knows me, you know what I'm going to do after this webinar. I'm going to go find out. Pasting multiple columns and rows of data from extension into Excel, no. I actually just tried that to confirm while we were waiting. No, but that I know that that's something that they want to be able to do, but not right now. Can you relocate that miscellaneous charge to different floors if needed and not let the system decide automatically? Yes, it's not the easiest thing to show without having a specific example, but we can connect offline and I can show you how to do that if that's something you need to do regularly. In other words, if I'm going to spread out a certain cost out over 5 labels, but it technically doesn't belong in one of those labels, can I force the system to ignore it? Yeah, I can do that. Let's see. The cost code drop down in extension, I believe you're talking about this, if that's what you mean. And it does the same thing that expand and collapse labels do. It only refers to the cost code. So you see with expanded, I see, well, here's my branch rough. These things right here are my branch rough. If I collapse the cost code, now my branch rough is just one line. I could see the totals and I can kind of flesh it out from there. So if you're using cost codes, that's what that is. It expands and collapses so you can see, oh, for my floor 1 power sheet E1, this is my branch wire. Can reports be printed in Excel as well? For everything that I'm aware of has the ability to be exported into Excel first, so you can definitely do that with just about everything that I've seen so far. And I actually recommend it. Anybody that ever asks my 2 cents on that, I would say put it in Excel first, make sure it has all of the words that you want to give to your customer in there, and then put it into a PDF. Let's see. Oh, somebody actually wants to see the HQ. Okay, well, I'll pass that along. We will definitely get that to the right person. Uh, how will this update work with pre-existing jobs? I have not heard of anything. We have an extensive interior testing system that really looks for those kind of things. I have not heard or seen anything that conflicts with any existing data, so it should be a pretty smooth crossover. Any hiccups or gray areas or doubts along the way, just get in touch with us and we'll get you to somebody who can help you out. On the summary breakouts, can you view your labor hours to include labor factors in each breakout? I would need a little bit more information about what you're really asking, so I'll contact you offline and get a little bit more information about that. Recording of the webinar, it is recorded. It should be maybe a couple of days before it's available. I think at the most, because it has to sort of render and do its video things, but there will be a way to view this recording, yes. Question about when it goes live. It is going live this week, so it's pretty much happening as we speak. So, but you'll get the email and go through the normal process for any upgrades. But it's going live now. Ability to import extension data directly into Foundation yet? I know that that is a process that has been being worked on daily by several different developers, and there's a high level of attention to it. I don't know where it is. It's improving with every single release. It's improving the integration. The best way to get that answer would probably be call somebody at Foundation and their tech support and see what they say about what's been changed over the last few releases. When does this version come to our online subscription? You'll be getting an email. I believe they're going to be rolling it out based on zones. So they'll do like the Western United States and something like that. I think that's what they used to do. So that will probably be a similar way. The easiest way to answer that question, I'm sorry if it sounds a little facetious, but you just wait for the email and you'll be all right. Everything else I will attempt to answer offline. There's some of these things I need a little bit more information on. Um, and some of these things I just need to dive in and show you. Is it just for pro or everyone? Everyone gets the landing page. Everything that's different about pro is it's not really changing that. Everything that I just showed you, you'll be able to do in both. Very, very, very few exceptions. And I'll give just a couple of more minutes and see if any other questions come in. If I didn't answer your question directly, it's because I'm probably just going to get with you offline and get a little bit more information. But it looks like we're going to wrap up a little early. I'll wait a couple more minutes for more questions. Let's see, where will the recording of this be posted? I will get a link, I think, in the email. If you signed up in through normal way, you'll get a link for that. If not, I'll be sending it to you when I find it. And I just got a updated answer. The integration has been improved dramatically on this release. There was a lot of attention paid to it on this particular release, so that should be considerably better. I was told a considerable amount of work went into it on this one. And as far as your subscription being updated, it will be next week, I was told. So the hosted environment is going to be next week. Ah, if I have a base bid lighting package and an alternate lighting package, how do I separate them in bid summary? you would actually have them sent over separately. So that's the one instance where you would have your regular lighting, unless you're talking about the quotes. If you're talking about the quotes, there's a way inside that quotes tab to actually have two different vendors. You can do it inside the same line, or you can have two separate lines. But if you're talking about reports in general, you would actually have two separate extensions for that. You'd have one for the regular one and then one extension for the alternate, that when you sent it over, it would be part of that drop down at the top left. And that's something, whoever asked that question, that's something that we can get into more detail offline. All right. It looks like I'm going to give you about 10 or 12 minutes of your day back. Everyone, thank you very much for attending. I had over 100 people on here. That is wonderful. That is now 100 people who know a lot more about 16. If you're not on 16 right now, I would get that done really quickly and start getting familiar with some of these differences and some of the ways that this can save you time. There's a lot of time saving in McCormick, and we get better at that every time. So let us know what we can do for you. We're always here for you. Get upgraded as soon as you can if you're not already, and we'll just go from there. We keep making additions and we keep making improvements. So never ever be shy about telling us how we could make something better. We're here for you. So with that, guys, thank you again very much. Have a great rest of your day. Have a good weekend, and come back to the next one that we do later this year, and we'll keep going. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great one.